When people ask, what was your favorite city to play in, and I mean, how could I not say Nashville? Because when I was there, the first 5 years, the fans wanted entertainment, and I gave it to them. And I enjoyed it. And don't get me wrong, it was a hell of a ride, but at the same time, it also allowed us players to get out in the community and to be a face for the Predators. And like I said before, back then Nashville was a pretty tight knit community. And you know, after my years of moving on, every time I'd come back to Nashville to play the Preds, there was a new building going up, and now I don't even recognize being downtown. But like I talk about, people evolve, and the city Nashville has just evolved into, a sports city.
Welcome to the Predators official podcast here on Nashville Predators YouTube, ESPN 1025 The Game, and NashvillePredators.com. My name is Max Herz from Preds Radio, joined by Kara Hammer from Preds TV and Brooks Bratten from NashvillePredators.com. The Preds are back from Sweden and ready for a big Saturday night in Smashville this weekend. We'll get you ready for the game against the Avalanche, which is our first Hockey Fights Cancer night of the season, and also Preds alumnus and all-time fan favorite, Jordin Tootoo, will join the podcast before the screening of his new documentary at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday. Go to NashvillePredators.com if you are interested in attending that. The boys are back from Sweden, and Brooks Bratten was in Sweden with the Preds. Brooksy, how was the trip?
It was great. It's good to be home, but what a time. I mean, obviously, it would have been sweet to get 2 wins on the ice. The Preds only got 1. But what an amazing experience. I think one of the biggest things that stands out for me is just how welcoming the people were, how excited everybody was to have us there. I think I mentioned on the radio with you, Max, on Friday before the game, just what a buzz there was in Stockholm. It felt like a playoff game. It felt like a special event. It was everything that you would want it to be in that regard. And it was so cool to see people in Sweden who live in Sweden or live elsewhere in Europe just wearing their Nashville Predators jersey to the game. I mean, I know that, obviously we have players from all around the world and people become fans of different teams, but it still just wasn't something that I really expected to walk into the building and see little kids walking around in Philip Forsberg jerseys. But there it was. And that was so amazing to see. And yeah, just nothing but good things to say about Sweden. I mean, the meatballs were fantastic. The fika in the afternoon, the coffee and pastry breaks were awesome. And what a great experience it was, Max.
This is the one time, Brooks, we will let you talk about your food here on the PFP because it is hockey related and very cool. So live it up. You have my green light, buddy.
So thank you. And if you would like, I would love to share one last meatball update, because I asked a couple of the guys in the locker room after Wednesday's practice. I first said to Nick Perbix, because one of the big things when the team first got there was they went out for a big Swedish meal. Philip Forsberg, Adam Wilsby leading the charge, showing guys what to eat, how to eat it. And so we talked a lot about the meatballs and the toastskagen with the shrimp on the toast, and it's all really great. And so I asked Nick Perbix in the room on Wednesday, what was the final meatball count? And he was like, I don't know, but I'm not eating meatballs for a long time. Because on the way home, one of the meals up. So we played Sunday afternoon, Sweden time. We then immediately went to the airport and flew home. So one of the meals on the plane was Swedish meatballs. And I was going back and forth like, am I really going to do it again? And I did. I had Swedish meatballs one more time on the plane. Nick Perbix did not have them on the plane. He's like, I'm done. I don't want to see a meatball. I then asked Tyson Jost. He did have the meatballs on the plane. And he said when he was at Costco the other day, they were giving out samples of Swedish meatballs. And he thought to himself, I'm not really going to have a Swedish meatball again, am I? And he's like, no, who am I kidding? Yes, I am. And he said they were pretty good. So if you get a craving for Swedish meatballs, apparently Costco has them. But yeah, what a great experience with the food and the culture and the people and the hockey too. I mean, I want to mention obviously a dramatic 2-1 win on Friday, a 4-0 loss on Sunday. Friday's game took almost 59 minutes, but who else but Philip Forsberg tying the game. Steven Stamkos then wins it in overtime. Sunday didn't go Nashville's way, but it really was an amazing trip. And I wanted to play this clip of Philip Forsberg after Sunday's game, kind of encapsulating what it meant to him to play what he called the two best regular season games he's ever played in his career in his home country.
Oh, it's been unbelievable. It's been so much fun. I've had both set of grandparents here. I've had watch at home. I've had family that you only see a week or two in the summer that have been watching their first NHL games. Obviously, we've eaten more meatballs than anyone in this team has ever thought they would eat, probably. And I don't think we'll see another meatball for a while. But it's been unbelievable. I think it's been, speaking for me, for Willie, I'm sure he feels the same way. And obviously it would have been even sweeter to have another win on the playing with us home. But overall, it's been a great week.
Top moments.
It's obviously, the winner, the tire from last game. Those are hard to beat. But we've had a lot of fun, off the ice as well. And seeing the kids at Children's Hospital was really special as well. O'Reilly came and played the guitar for them. There's been a lot of really good stuff. Not even to mention the family time that I've learned to have as well.
Obviously not the result you want, but how important is it that the NHL keeps coming back to Sweden and playing these games?
I think it's huge. And obviously, just speaking from my own experience, it's the most fun regular season games I've ever played in my life. And being able to give back, see the Leksand kids yesterday after practice, all that stuff is not possible without us coming back. And I'm very thankful for that.
So there's Philip Forsberg. And guys, you can just imagine, he and Adam Wilsby were such amazing ambassadors this past week. I think one of the cooler moments was on Saturday, there was an open practice at Avicii Arena for fans of all ages to attend. And as the guys came from underneath the stands from the locker room and kind of walked out, it was a very large vestibule to walk out, large opening to walk out to the ice. And it was surrounded by kids on either side. And they might know, they know Steven Stamkos, they might know that it's Juuse Saros, but as soon as Phil walked out, every single kid waiting for an autograph, Philip. And even Wilsby, Adam Wilsby, they all knew Wilsby. And so that was really cool just to see those guys get that chance. Because like we talked about with Phil, when I interviewed him before we went, it's we're American, we grow up with the NHL. This is not something that's crazy new to us. For kids growing up in Sweden, who's to say that they'll ever get to see an NHL player in person? So to be able to do that for those guys, and you heard Phil mention it, the importance of not only doing these games as they are already, but continuing to do them in places like Sweden, it only helps grow the game. And even though, these weren't Stanley Cup playoff games, this might not have been the best hockey that anybody's ever seen in their life. But for these fans to see on the Pittsburgh side, guys like Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Philip Forsberg and Juuse Saros and players of that magnitude was really something special for people. So many great things to mention. And I've got a list of things here. I don't want to keep going on and on, but I did want to mention as well. I got to go to a children's hospital with Philip Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly. And, Phil and Factor were amazing with the kids. Phil was playing an NHL video game, which as himself on the Preds, which is kind of crazy to think, but it was enjoying that. And they were playing ping pong. And then Ryan O'Reilly, who we know is a pretty darn good musician in his own right, went into this storage room and came out with a six string and proceeded to give a little impromptu concert for 2 or 3 young patients in the hospital wing there. And that was really sweet to not only see him play the guitar, but the way he was interacting with the kids. I'm like, clearly this guy has 4 kids of his own. He knows what he's doing. But that was just another moment where obviously it's a tough situation for any child to be dealing with an illness and to be in the hospital, but to have a couple of guys, again, that you maybe never expect that you're going to see anybody like that in person in Sweden. And so that was really sweet, just how excited everybody was. There was one woman getting on an elevator as we were leaving. She was going up to see a family member, and she recognized the guys, and all she wanted to do was just say hi, and that she was going to be the big hero because she met them. And Factor, without even missing a beat, said, well, can we record a message for him on your phone? And instantly he and Phil do that. And it's just little things like that that make such a difference. in moments of that nature. So that was amazing. And then Phil meeting a bunch of youth players from his hometown in Lexend, and through the NHLPA Goals and Dreams program, donated $15,000 worth of hockey equipment to help boys and girls in his hometown be able to play. It was just really amazing. And again, I think everything that you could have possibly hoped from a standpoint of experiencing something like this, being in another country and showing off your team and your organization. It was just amazing. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have been able to go. And I know the guys were as well. So it was really a pleasure to be over there and bring a little bit of Smashville into Stockholm, and something I'll never forget, that's for sure.
Yeah, Brooke, speaking of it being like a little bit of Smashville over there, we know that Paul McCann, the PA announcer. We also had Wayne D in the house in Stockholm. So having those two voices just over there, I mean, did it feel almost like you were in a home game because of the familiarity of what you get inside of Smashville at Bridgestone Arena?
No, it definitely did. Yeah, that was a cool, unique element, as you said, Kara, Paul, on the public address announcement, and there were a good amount of Preds fans there, and when they thanked him after the 1 minute period announcement, I think a lot of other people were like, "What is going on here?" But that was a fun little element, and then Wayne D and interacting with Nash and Iceberg, the Penguins mascot, and just being in the arena. It definitely had a little bit of a Smashville feel, and there were hundreds of fans from Nashville that went over as well as part of the Predators fan trip. They had taken over pretty much an entire corner of the lower bowl was just full of Preds fans. So that was really cool to see. And then again, the people who lived there, who they woke up in Stockholm and they went and grabbed their Predators jersey and got in their car and drove to the game. I just found that to be such a fun little element of, you live 4,000 miles away from Nashville, but yet you're still a fan, you're still following the team. And there was a little bit of a hometown flavor there, that was for sure, and that was really cool to see.
Can we talk about one of the coolest stories that I think coming out of the games were, and this highlights being a fan, being an NHL player, but the story of Matthew Wood getting to meet Evgeny Malkin and him saying that he wears number 71 because of Malkin. What does that say about how young this player is? I mean, he's a rookie. He's come in. He's been highlighted. We keep talking about him on the podcast because he's been scoring goals, right? And to go out and to be on the same ice in a different country, in a global game, playing against the player you wanted to be like.
Well, it's always funny to me, like, when guys get drafted now, obviously they're teenagers and they're younger and they're going to have different perspectives on things, but it still makes me feel old when there's a guy like Matthew Wood. Oh yeah, my favorite player is Evgeny Malkin. Or you hear guys say Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby and Patrick Kane, and it's like, well, they're all still playing. Like, are you that young? But that's who they grew up with as kids. Yeah. And you mentioned Matthew Wood wearing 71, and that's why he wears it, is for Evgeny Malkin. And shout out to Emily Benjamin, who writes for NHL.com. She actually flew with us from New York to Sweden and back. We helped take some folks from the NHL just to make it easier, as opposed to people booking all these flights. We had room on the charter, but Emily was the one telling the story of Matthew Wood meeting Evgeny Malkin. He was a little bit nervous trying to make it work, and he got the jersey, but they were able to make it happen. And so, a moment like that was also really cool, and stuff like that can come out of things of this nature. Like the Penguins we're staying in the same hotel as the Penguins, and that never happens on the road because only one team is on the road at a time. So just things of that nature, and interacting with some of their staff, for me, being from Pittsburgh and knowing a lot of the people who still work there. And that was cool to just all be in it together and to experience it together. And yes, Matthew Wood did get his jersey. He did get his photo with Evgeny Malkin. So pretty great week, right? Like, you score a hat trick at Madison Square Garden and then you get to meet your idol. Like, Matthew Wood's got to be pinching himself, honestly.
Yeah, I love it. Great stuff.
Fun week in Sweden for the Preds. They finished 1-1 in the NHL's Global Series. They'll return to action on a big day, Saturday in Smashville, this Saturday night, November 22nd, against the Colorado Avalanche. It is Hockey Fights Cancer Night at Bridgestone Arena. It is also Jordin Tootoo documentary screening day. His new documentary, Tootoo, is now streaming in Canada. Your chance to watch it in person at Bridgestone Arena Saturday afternoon. You can get a ticket for that by going to NashvillePredators.com. Jordin Tootoo will join us coming up next to tell his story. This is the Predators official podcast. I'm Max Herz from Preds Radio with Kara Hammer from Preds TV and Brooks Bratten from NashvillePredators.com. This is the POP on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back to the Predators official podcast here on NashvillePredators.com, Preds YouTube, and ESPN 102.5 The Game. My name is Max Herz from Preds Radio, along with Brooks Bratten from NashvillePredators.com. And our guest this segment, an all-time fan favorite here in Smashville, the subject of a new documentary that we will be screening at Bridgestone Arena this Saturday before the Preds take on the Avs. Former Pred Jordin Tootoo is our guest. Jordin, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Max, thanks for having me. And always look forward to these conversations as Nashville has always been near and dear to my heart. And we're really excited to come back and see a lot of familiar faces.
Well, we guarantee none of your other documentary promotional interviews have started with this. The Tootoo whistle is here, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I imagine.
Those whistles are still legendary. People are still asking for them. And I mean, it's the little things that matter, right? And these little Tootoo whistles have gone a long ways for our fans. And the only thing that was a negative with them is every team knew when I was out on the ice because the whole fans would start blowing their whistles. So, yeah, but awesome.
So Jordin Tootoo is our guest. The documentary is called Tootoo, made in collaboration with Michael Hamilton. You guys have been working on this for a while, and now it's a finished product and it's here. What's it like for you, Jordin, to take your story from your two books now to film to reach even more people?
Yeah, it was quite the project, to be honest. The last 5 years have been really healing, not only for myself, but my family. We all fight a fight no one knows about, and especially with professional athletes, your average fans look at us and say, well, how could they struggle in life when they got it going on? And, we're human too, this journey has been really eye-opening, not only for myself, but for our people in general, the indigenous communities, to really start opening up and reflecting and conversating about, our history and what's gone on. And so this last 5 years working with Michael Hamilton and Adam Scorgie, it's been a learning process, not only for myself and my family, but the film crew, understanding, the indigenous ways of life and, the culture and traditions. You gotta be able to live it in order to tell this story. And I think the film crew has really gotten more educated on our history. And I think all in all, it's been a blessing for all of us, getting back to Nashville, where, the heart of my career started and where really Jordin Tootoo grew up. I was 20 years old when I moved to Nashville and spent 9 years there and met a lot of great people. Couldn't land in a better city, to be honest, for a young guy like me. The market wasn't really big back in the early 2000s, so there wasn't a lot of pressure, and I was able to grow and to mature and to live out my dreams in Music City. What a great experience it was.
Well, Jordin, you touched on that. You mentioned at the start that Nashville always has and always will have a special place in your heart. So now at this point in your life, what does it mean to be able to tell this story in Nashville in front of these fans that supported you from the very start?
Yeah, for me, I think it comes full circle. With the guidance of Mr. David Poyle and Trotsy, really caring about Jordin Tootoo the person. And that bled into our fans. When I entered rehab back in December of 2010, I didn't know if I was ever going to play another NHL game, and I had to be okay with that. And I had to make sure that my life was under control in order for my brother's legacy to live on. And when I stepped on the ice for the first time after going through the program and really appreciating the fans standing ovation towards me, I think that's when it really, really sunk in for me, as far as, Nashville is going to always be family to me. And I'm just so grateful that the opportunity was given to me, and our fans understood that, this game, it's just a hockey game, and at the end of the day, it's a brotherhood in that dressing room, and when you have your own teammates supporting you and caring about you, it goes a long ways.
Jordin Tootoo is our guest, former Pred. You can watch his documentary film Tootoo with him at Bridgestone Arena this weekend. The Preds are such a central figure in your life story, Jordin. What stands out to you about the times you had in Nashville, the good times on the ice, the bad times off the ice that are covered in the documentary, and what it means to be telling your story here through all of that?
Well, I've had a lot of great moments in my time in Nashville, but also it was the rise and fall of Jordin Tootoo. That being said, I really appreciated the support of the fans. They treated us like we were regular people, and back when I was there, Nashville was a small town. A big small city, and a lot of memories of that family oriented. Whether it was in the arena, whether it was a staff at the Bridgestone, or back when I was there, it was a Gaylord Entertainment Center. But, I just really have a lot of great fond memories of how nice everybody was, and still is. It's that Southern hospitality.
Jordin, you already mentioned David Poile, Barry Trotz, but to have some of your former Preds teammates in this documentary to help tell their story and your story from their eyes, Shea Weber, Brian McGrattan, Scotty Upshaw, a lot of names that people will obviously remember and recognize. What did it mean to you to have all of them say, yes, I want to help tell the story of Jordin Tootoo?
Yeah, I think it really grasps a different perspective of my story from the eyes of my own teammates, and you don't realize how important teammates are until you go through tough times and they're there for you. And guys like Uppy and Webbs and McGrattan, Jim McKenzie, the words that they use describing me, I just, it gives me chills, because when you're in it, you don't realize how much of an impact you have amongst your peers, and the fact that they really spoke the truth, because your average fan doesn't see what goes on in the dressing room, and the grind and the battle. You go to war for each other, and those guys stood by my side through thick and thin, and I'm still buddies with all of them, and that's what hockey's all about, right? It brings people together, and no better place than spending my first 9 years of my career in Nashville. What a blessing it was.
Jordin Tootoo is our guest here on the Predators official podcast, talking about his new documentary about his life story. Your family, Jordin, is the A-plot, and you do such a beautiful job in your books and now in the film, telling the story of your family, which is a complicated one. Your late brother, Terrence, your sister, Corrine, and your parents, and now your wife and your daughters. What do you want Smashville to know about your family, either folks who have seen the film or are going to see it this weekend, that shines through as you tell your family's story?
Yeah, like I said before, we all fight a fight no one knows about, and at the end of the day, it's about who's willing to walk the walk, and I am so humbled by the fact of how much courage my mom and dad showed during this whole process in speaking the truth, and also my wife Jennifer, learning through this whole process of of my family's history, and because at the end of the day, we we all have battles, and the fact that a lot of us men silently hold those battles in, and for me, I had the game of hockey to release that anger and that frustration, and not a lot of men can say that they can go to work and release their anger and and all that, but this whole process has brought in my wife and I closer together. It's allowed us to be able to communicate because, like I say, men, we tend to hold everything inside, and a lot of times we don't know how to verbalize. And this whole process, even throughout my sobriety journey, I've now realized that yes, people do change, and we have to allow space for that, because a lot of times, we want to bring history back and bring them back down to your level, and a lot of times I've created boundaries where, yes, I have a lot of shame and guilt with my past actions, but I'm not going to carry that anymore today. I'm moving forward. I'm not going to forget. But that being said, I think my documentary is, you want to call a spade, watch my documentary. I don't hold back. Just a warning to a lot of youngsters out there. There's a lot of verbal content that is subject, but hey, I'm raw. I'm as raw as they come, and but that being said, I've come to the understanding of growing and evolving as an individual. Yes, hockey has allowed me to have so many opportunities in my life, but that was only one part. And today, I can honestly say that my greatest accomplishment in my life. It's not about being the first Inuk player, being the first Inuk to play in the NHL, playing for Team Canada, all these accolades. It's about being a present father, a present husband, and being able to watch my girls grow. Although I never had the opportunity to hoist a Stanley Cup, I get to watch 3 Stanley Cups walk out of their room every morning, and I wouldn't change it for a thing.
Oh, love that. Talking to Jordin Tootoo here on the Predators official podcast. This is such an engaging opportunity to educate people this weekend in Nashville, but you've traveled everywhere all across the continent about the challenges that Indigenous people face in Canada. How grateful are we to be able to have hockey to bring all these people together, to really teach them about something that's so important and untold stories that I can confidently say if it weren't for hockey, I would have no idea about.
Yeah, hockey brings out the best of us, and it also brings us closer together. And it's just not in hockey. It's we got to take that narrative and bring it into all walks of life. Whether it's the corporate businesses, whether it's college, university, any sporting events. We need to normalize that sports is for everybody. And, unfortunately, only a select few can be at the highest level, but that's an opportunity for each individual to dig in their heels and become a team player. I tell guys all the time, I was a 4th line NHL player for 14 years, and I perfected my role, and I chose to seize opportunities when they were given to me, whether it was to play on the first or the second or the third line, but at the end of the day, when you perfect your role and you trust your instincts, and once you become comfortable and content in your own skin, man, the sky's the limit. And the game has really showed me, really who I truly am deep down inside. And then that's with the help of, my coaches, my teammates throughout the years of playing, and also the fans, right? Because we owe it to our fans. They pay a lot of money to come watch us play, and we got to be on it every night. And I think that's a real testament of each individual's character.
Jordin, off of that, when you look back now with just your point of view on Nashville and the Predators, we can call you a signature player, a fan favorite that people love to watch here in Nashville. What kind of comes to mind when you think of, hey, my time in Nashville as a member of the Predators on the ice in front of those fans? I guess maybe how much do you miss it, and how do you view it now that you're retired?
Oh man, I can't even begin to explain the feelings, when the puck dropped, like the Bridgestone Arena, the electricity that, the buzz, and not only in regular season, but the fans took it to another level in playoffs, and that's one thing when people ask, what was your favorite city to play in? And I mean, how could I not say Nashville? Because when I was there, the first 5 years, the fans wanted entertainment, and I gave it to them, and I enjoyed it. And don't get me wrong, it was a hell of a ride, but at the same time, it also allowed us players to get out in the community and to be a face for the Predators. And like I said before, back then Nashville was a pretty tight knit community, and after my years of moving on, every time I'd come back to Nashville to play the Preds, there was a new building going up, and now I don't even recognize being downtown. But that's like I talk about, people evolve, and the city Nashville has just evolved into a sports city.
This might be an impossible question, but do you have a favorite moment or two with your time with the Preds?
Oh boy. I mean, I don't remember a lot from back in those days, but I gotta say, the first year we made the playoffs, I mean, that was an unbelievable experience. And then a few years later, I think we made it to the second round, and that was just another level of inspiration, and kind of the trajectory of our team was heading, towards to being contenders. But I think, honestly, the first game I came back after entering rehab and getting that standing ovation, it sent chills down my spine. I had a few tears, and because I didn't know if I was ever going to get that opportunity again. But I worked my butt off, and because that's how I know how to do things. You outwork your opponent, and good things happen.
Jordin Tootoo is our guest. Fans can come watch his documentary at Bridgestone this weekend. Go to NashvillePredators.com to check that out. Jordin, for fans who don't live here or can't make the screening on Saturday, what's the best way for them to watch the documentary and support you guys?
Yeah, so right now in Canada, it's streamed on Super Channel. I think in the new year we will have US rights to stream it on all platforms. But right now in Canada, if you go on Amazon Prime and just type in my name, you should be able to watch it. But not quite sure how the technical side of things work. But right now, I know what I've been told is in the new year, the U.S. platforms will be all good to go.
All right. Well, this makes the screening even more of an occasion. Saturday afternoon at Bridgestone Arena. We will certainly let our fans know when it is streamable in the U.S. as well. Jordin, thanks so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you at the game on Saturday and so excited for your wife and daughters to be here too.
Right on, gentlemen. Thanks for having me, Max and Brooks. I look forward to hanging out and seeing everybody.
That is Jordin Tootoo on the Preds official podcast. One final blow of the Tootoo whistle here. We'll see you guys in Smashville on Saturday.
Welcome back to the Predators official podcast. I'm Kara Hammer along with Max Herz and Brooks Bratten. And who doesn't love Jordin Tootoo? What a great guy. I love all the Tootoo stories. I've had a chance to meet him and it's just awesome. All right. But also, guys, we're going to talk about this Saturday, November 22nd. We're finally back on home ice and we're here to celebrate Hockey Fights Cancer, a big initiative amongst the league and obviously an initiative that's very important to all of us. And Brooks, you've seen it in person. Max, I think you've seen it in person. Juuse Saros is going to be showing something new.
It's really cool, Kara, and it's something that I don't think really any other players in the NHL have done for Hockey Fights Cancer. Juuse Saros will be wearing a special goalie mask for the game on Saturday, honoring members of the Preds family who have battled cancer, including some very familiar faces to us. The four folks will be on there. Legendary Predators locker room attendant Craig Partner-Baugh, who we're happy to say is cancer-free. Terry Chris' wife, Sheila, who is battling cancer currently. Lexi Rogers, daughter of Predators head equipment manager Pete Rogers, who we're happy to say is currently cancer-free. And also our great friend, the late Erin Donick, who we lost this summer, Willie Donick's wife, who we honor every week here on the show with the Big E. Their four faces have been drawn onto the mask by the man known as Dave Art, Dave Gustafson, who designs a lot of the NHL goalie masks. And Brooks, it is a thing of beauty, one of a kind, only in Smashville. Juuse Saros is going to be repping it loud and proud on Saturday.
It's amazing, and the goalies usually, like, this is not the first time that a Preds goalie has worn a special mask like this, but for what it means, I don't know that there's ever been one with this much personality and this much meaning to it. And, you know, I was talking to Willie Donick, was at practice on Wednesday, and that was the first time he had seen Juuse wearing it, obviously, and he was taking pictures with his phone, and I was talking to him about it, and this was all Juuse's idea, which I think is the coolest part about this, is that, you know, Juuse Saros is in tune enough to, you know, it's not just about stopping pucks. There's more to all of this. And he knows what's going on around the organization. He knows who's dealing with what and who's affected with different things. And to hear Willie talk about it, it was Juuse that reached out to Willie, and Willie said he got a text message that said, "Hey, Willie, it's Juuse." And Willie's like, "Saros? Yeah, like, I don't know any other Juuses." But, you know, for Willie especially, he's really touched by it. And Hockey Fights Cancer night is always a special night. It'll be magnified tenfold this season for Willie, unfortunately, but also he just talks about how special all of the support has been and how much that's meant to him and his family. And so to see one of the best goaltenders in the world making a gesture like this, it's just almost incomprehensible. But Willie is so touched by it, as is the family of everybody else who was on the mask. And, you know, as Juuse said, like, it's the least he can do. It's an honor for him to be able to honor these folks in this way. And that's one of the great things about goalies and about this sport, is that it's rare to find when an athlete is in the heat of competition, there aren't many opportunities to do something like this. And a goalie mask gives a goaltender that opportunity. And he is taking it full force. And to have those four portraits of those four folks on his mask, and it's really special. I'm going to write a story on it. Stay tuned later in the week on NashvillePredators.com. There will be a story on the mask as well. But what a fantastic gesture, and it's really well done. I mean, Dave Art does great stuff. He does all of Juice's masks, does a ton of goalies' masks in the NHL. But that was really special, and it was just wonderful to see Willie taking photos of it during practice, and I can't even imagine the emotions that go through him when he sees something like that. But what a beautiful gesture from Juuse, and I can't wait for everybody else to see it.
Shout out. Do we also know, Brooks, that I know in the past we've had Hockey Fights Cancer jerseys that have been auctioned off. same thing happening?
100%. So there's always a ton of things that come with this. So we all know that right here in our own backyard, Vanderbilt and Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital, the Preds are so involved in the Hockey Fights Cancer Ambassadors, the 365 Fund, of course, Pecorine and Shea Weber's initiative that has been going on for a number of years now. But yes, there are so many different ways that fans can get involved. So if you're going to the game Saturday night at Bridgestone Arena, an awesome plaza party, there will be all kinds of different things that are going on, from the Predators Foundation, whether it's at the plaza or it's at the Preds Foundation table inside the arena. But there's mini sticks, there's mystery pucks, there's foam pucks, there's bracelets, a silent auction with players' jerseys. This is always a big thing. And I'm going to give you a number that you can text. So not only will the player jerseys be available, but that custom mask we were just talking about, that will also be up for auction.
Wow.
So if you want to get involved, you can text Preds to 76278. Text Preds to 76278. You can get instructions and you can get involved in the auction. And it obviously all goes to a great cause. So yes, tons of elements here to a Hockey Fights Cancer Night at Bridgestone Arena. It's a special night. We wish we didn't have to do it, but the Preds do it really well. And it's all special because I don't know that there's anybody who hasn't been touched by cancer in some way. It's a family member or a friend, or even if it's just you're a fan going to the game and you see Juuse's mask. You know that it affects all of us. So another special night coming up, and we're really excited to see what comes of it. And Max will love this part. The referees pregame, they have an initiative called Zebras Care, where some young kids get to go down, meet the game officials that are going to work the game that night, and kind of have their own little element there for the referees. So everybody is involved. It's a huge league initiative, and the Preds do it really well. So excited to see what comes on Saturday night, and wear your lavender if you're going to the game.
And without a doubt, we're giving our Big E award. You rock, Juuse Saros, for that incredible mask in memory of Aaron Donick. I just really wish, Kara, we could hear what Erin would think about being on a goalie's mask during the game. We know she's already screaming during every game watching the Preds this year. She'll be going even more nuts because now she thinks that she has something to do with making the saves, right?
I know, that's a huge thing. This is something that we always talk about with the Donicks too, as well. It's like, we're not really a part of it. No, we had nothing to do with it, even though we believe in like the broadcaster jinx and all the things that come with it. But we know Erin would be up there saying, Juuse Saros, you're awesome.
You rock, Juuse Saros. Oh, so good. I'm so excited to see it on Saturday. Partner Ba refused to be interviewed despite the fact that he is on the map. I tried really hard to get him to come on the podcast, and he just refuses to let me interview him, but he still talks to me for hours every day. So one day, partner.
You've tried for years, Max. We've always tried to interview partner. He will have no part of it.
No part of it. Yeah, but it's going to be a special day for sure in Smashville. That is Saturday night. The game is at 7 against the Avalanche. Festivities going on all day for Hockey Fights Cancer. Visit the Preds Foundation table on the main concourse behind Section 107 in its usual spot to see everything up for auction. And as Brooks said, you can text in to those Preds auctions to bid from wherever you are, including on Juuse Saros' game-worn, one-of-a-kind goalie mask. When we come back, Brooks will tell us about all his friends he met in Sweden, and we will open up the mailbag here on the POP. Max Herz, Kara Hammer, Brooks Bratten, and you on the Predators Official Podcast.
Fourth and final segment of this episode of the Predators Official Podcast here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and Preds YouTube. I'm Brooks Bratten alongside Max Herz and Kara Hammer. As we mentioned already, but it's worth mentioning again, the Big E Awesome Person of the Week, Juuse Saros, and his Hockey Fights Cancer mask. As Aaron would have said, Juuse, why are you so awesome? Because you put me on your goalie mask. What a gesture it is from Juuse, and we're so excited to see it on Hockey Fights Cancer Night on Saturday in Smashville. There were a couple things I wanted to mention in the mailbag. So Max mentioned somebody that I met in Sweden. So my new friend Tommy I believe he said he was from Norway, but we met in line at the men's room, the Globe Arena, very similar to Bridgestone Arena. You've got to wait in line with everybody else to use the restroom. So that's where I met my friend Tommy. And we were talking about, obviously I'm wearing a suit and tie, and, who do you work for? What are you doing? Whatever. I said, I work for the Predators. And he's telling me about, had to make the trip from Norway. He was so excited to get there, and like, oh yeah, like, watching the Preds, watching the Penguins. Patrick Hornquist, former Preds player, former Penguins player. He said, Patrick Hornquist is my all-time favorite player. I said, oh, well, he's sitting right in front of me in the stands out here. You want to come meet him? So I was like, here you go, Tommy. There he is. And he was just walking out as we were walking in. So he was able to talk to him, get a selfie. And I don't know Patrick Hornquist personally. He left Nashville the year before I got here. So I've never met the man, but I was like, sure, here he is. But he was thrilled for that. And then I saw him later after the fact, and he gave me a hug and was like, that is amazing. Thank you so much. And then he sent me a note on Twitter and just said, have to give you a shout out for being awesome. Go me. But he said, thanks for leading me to my biggest hockey idol. Great representative of the Nashville organization. Best regards. By the way, we met outside the men's room, so I wouldn't forget who he was. So shout out, Tommy. He said you've got a listener for life. So Tommy, if you find the podcast, I hope you're listening. I hope you've enjoyed what you're hearing. And thanks for being a fan, and thanks for saying hello in Sweden. It was great to meet you.
Go, Tommy.
Yes. Thanks, Tommy. All right, one more stateside question here. Tia asked about prior to Roman Josi's injury, she noticed that Steven Stamkos and Philip Forsberg would alternate wearing the alternate Captain A on their sweaters. Steven Stamkos wore it at home. Philip Forsberg wore it on the road. She asked, is there a reason behind this? With Roman out, they've both been wearing letters, but when Josi is back, once will happen. I believe it is just a home road split for those guys, since you can only have 3 letters on the ice during a game, and the Preds have 4 guys who have worn letters this season and would go deeper if there were more injuries. It's just members of the leadership group wearing them in different ways. We put our heads together. We're not sure if there's any rhyme or reason. We don't think there is between why Stamkos wears it at home and Forsberg wears it on the road. Refs seem to be pretty lenient with who comes up and talks to them in those situations too, which by the rule book is what the letters are supposed to show you, who's allowed to go get clarification from the refs. Refs are pretty flexible about that. So it's to show that both those guys are part of the leadership group, and maybe Phil thinks he looks better in white and Stamkos thinks he looks better in gold. Who knows?
Yeah. And you don't, it's worth clarifying, like, you don't have to wear a letter to be a part of the leadership group. Like, the Preds have their own internal leadership group. So like Juuse Saros is definitely a part of that. Guys like Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea, Colton Sissons, I think, was a really good example back in the day that he hardly ever wore a letter unless someone was injured. But guys would say he's just as important inside that room as anybody else is. So just because you're not wearing a letter doesn't mean that you're not part of the leadership group. And then we mentioned Roman Josi. Of course, there have been 3 A's with Josi wearing the C. He's been injured. Worth mentioning as we record this on Wednesday, November the 19th, that Josi did practice on Wednesday. He remains on injured reserve with an upper body injury. Andrew Brunette said, I simply don't know if Josi could potentially play on Saturday against Colorado, but obviously some good news there that Roman was on the ice getting closer to a return, and that gives you a little bit of a boost. Like, he wasn't even in Sweden. It's tough not to have your captain around, so the Preds could use some good news, and that was certainly a welcome sight on Wednesday to see Josi back out there. So once he is back, he will take the C back. There will no longer be 3 A's in a game for the Predators. And it's usually, Max, you mentioned talking to the refs, like, it's usually Ryan O'Reilly who is discussing things with the on-ice officials with Josi out of the lineup. But also guys kind of say whatever they want to the refs, and they'll give it right back. So that's how that shakes out for you there.
As they should. Brooks. And on that note, that's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks to Jordin Tootoo for joining us. Again, if you want to join us for that screening Saturday afternoon at Bridgestone Arena, go to NashvillePredators.com, find the Jordin Tootoo link. You can buy a ticket for just the screening, or you can buy a ticket for both the movie screening and the game on Saturday night. We will let you guys know. We'll find out after New Year's once it becomes streamable in the U.S. Highly recommend that documentary about Jordin Tootoo. It is just called simply Tootoo. My name is Max Herz for Preds Radio, for Kara Hammer from Preds TV, Brooks Bratten from NashvillePredators.com, Nate Baker, Justina Quagliata, and our entire POP super team. Thanks for listening to the Predators official podcast. See you in Smashville.
Happy Thanksgiving.